Well, in any event, John, the Raiders are 6-5 and playing the Washington football team this week. And I thought they were toast. I thought there was no way they were beating the Cowboys short week on Thursday. I thought
they were like the Kumar guy.
I thought they were yes. Put them in the freezer. I thought they were done. And yet here they are. And I got to admit, they ain't done. What do you think?
Was that the biggest
seed right now?
I know we had talked about this a little bit, but was that the biggest moment of Derek's career when you factor in 38 million people watched?
Yeah, he didn't play in their playoff game. It was their season hanging in the balance. It was against the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and the game really mattered, and he played fantastic. Yes, I think it was the biggest moment of his career.
He played fantastic, especially like undermanned, right? Obviously, we know Ruggs is gone, but Waller got hurt. And Deshaun Jackson, like, you got to give them like they have a little bit of something. Like, they've developed a little just immediately. Guy, the AFC West this weekend, if you look, are they the deepest division in football? The worst, they're all 6-5, beside the Chiefs, who are 7-4. So the Chargers played the Bengals. The Broncos play the Chiefs. They got flexed into Sunday night, which I think people are like, you're really flexing in the Broncos just from Mahomes. Now, honestly, that game doesn't look terrible. And the Raiders play the football team, and the football team has a little life. Like, there's some big fucking games here in the AFC West this weekend. Like, could they get 3 teams in? It's not inconceivable. Probably not likely, but I think they're getting 2, right? Not a lock, but it feels like
Chargers play the Bengals this week. They could at Cincinnati. They could definitely lose that game and be 6-6. The Raiders win, they'd be 7-5. I mean, they'd be who knows.
The Broncos are a 10-point underdog, so if they lose, they'll be. So let's say the Chargers and the Broncos lose,
which by the way would be 6. As you said to me the other day, Vic Fangio. Every year we talk about Vic, like he's a stopgap.
We talk about him like Ben McAdoo or something.
He hasn't had a quarterback, and he's not in charge of drafting the quarterback, and he's gone 7-9, 5-11. He's 6-5 right now. It might be a 500-ish. You can't go 500 anymore.
I do think when you look at the
Pittsburgh
Raiders, when you look at the Raiders' schedule, though, this weekend is kind of must-win for them. Then they go at Chiefs, which even if they win this weekend, if the Chiefs win, what are they, a 8-point underdog?
What would the Raiders be at the Chiefs?
Yeah. 6, 7 plus.
No.
Broncos are 10, so maybe they'd be 7.
I think they'd be like 6.5.
Okay, so they're a big underdog. Then they play the Browns, who are in shambles, but like Myles Garrett has like 75 sacks. And then they just have a tough, this is just going to be a tough 3-game stretch for them to end the season. Versus the Broncos in Vegas, and they got their ass kicked by them early, right? Denver got their ass kicked, so I would imagine they'll try. And you watch Denver, they're not bad. At Colts, that game's going to be hard because the Colts are going to be playing for a wild card spot and then finish with the Chargers, who already beat them. That's just, I think the Bronco, Colts, Chargers, Chiefs, those 4 games, if the Raiders can just go 2-2 in those games and beat Washington, I mean, you're looking at a 9-8 team with a very good chance to get in the playoffs. Because the way you look at the AFC, a little bit like the NFC, 9-8 might get you in. It might not be the 6th seed like the NFC, but it might be the 7th. Because the Colts could be better than you, and they might be 9-8, right? They're 6-6 right now,
which doesn't feel like that's what they should be. But
it's because they got in they started 1-4. They always start so slow under Frank. New episode's out, mid-season Hard Knocks. I haven't watched it yet, but
where do I watch that again?
HBO Max.
Cool.
So, yeah. I just don't trust the Chargers. You know there are questions. I saw you retweeted it yet, so I went and watched it. I think people are kind of on. I don't know if Keenan Allen, he's had a lot of drops this year, and I just think you watch their offense. Herbert's been off. They've had some drops. It's just a weird shit going on with the Chargers. They're smaller brands, so I don't think we talk about them enough. Or, I mean, a lot. Not enough, but we do. We'll talk about it a lot. But they kind of fly under the radar a little bit, right, for a team that should be pretty good.
I think based on who they have been historically, people don't quite take the Chargers seriously.
They don't.
So when there's expectations for the Chargers, I think people love to get into the hype of them. And then if they don't meet them, people don't pile on them for failing to meet expectations. They just go away. It's like, yeah, okay.
They're like the Jets without the anger.
And they're doing the Jets without the anger as Lincoln Riley arrives in LA and the Rams have Stafford, the Rams are a huge story because of their failures. It's different for the Rams, right? The Rams' expectations, if they fall short, it's a big story. If the Chargers fall short, it's like, well, what have they proven? Why do I have expectations to begin with? Anyway, so yeah, I think the AFC. But even then, like we're talking about, they're struggling. They're 6-5. Like,
but do you feel great about like even just the Raiders against a football team? Like that's going to be hard. Like their margin for error now in these games.
It is going to be hard. But I go back to Derek. He is so much better than Taylor Heineke.
Oh, way better.
And even though Darren Waller's not playing,
guy, at this time last year, there wasn't a soul that knew who Taylor Heineke was.
And with all due respect, in all likelihood, the way the NFL works with quarterbacks, in 2 years, we'll be back to remember Taylor Heineke?
Yeah.
If it's not that, I'll give him – I mean, I'll give him a ton of credit for what he is. He plays like he's on borrowed time. Yeah. So he's not their solution. But you're right about the AFC. I mean, just look. Right now, though, you don't get to an under 500 team in the AFC until you get to the 13th team in the AFC, Miami at 5-7. Okay, 12 teams are 500 or better in the AFC.
I think the Dolphins are sneaky kind of hot right now. They won
5-7. Yeah, Tua. There's like all these Tua's figured it out. Like they figured out how to work with Tua stories. Have you seen a couple of those? Like, they're
but they've been playing the Jets and the Texans. I mean, look who they beat: the Texans, they beat the Jets, and they beat the Panthers.
Okay.
They beat the Ravens, but that was on Thursday Night Football at home.
So, John, you have to get to the 13th team to find a team under 500 in the AFC.
Actually,
in the NFC,
they play the Giants and Jets next 2 games. They could be 7-7 before you look.
In the NFC, you can't even get through the playoff teams before you get to a team under 500. The Niners, 6. They're over 500. Then Washington is 5-6, 7. So there's basically, you could argue, twice as many solid teams. Now, I mean, Philly, New Orleans, these teams are not easy. Atlanta, these are sub-500 teams, but they're sub-500 teams.
Well, I think if you're a Niner or Vikings fan, you want the Raiders to just knock Heineke out. Because if they win this game, they'd be 6-6 and right in the mix, right? For a playoff spot, Rivera.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't be going away because they do have a good, they have good players on defense. They haven't had a good defense this season. Washington would all of a sudden be alive if they win this week. They just would, numerically.
What's their schedule look like?
I mean, I would imagine it's got some.
It's hard to play the schedule game, but
I'm sure they've got some NFC East games.
Yeah, they got the Cowboys twice, the Eagles twice, and the Giants.
Because I saw someone say
Cowboys ain't beating them twice, are they? In 3 weeks?
Well, it's like maybe I saw this headline on Twitter. If the the football team were to win this week, like they would not be out of it in that division because I didn't realize they played them twice. Cowboys should be rooting for the Raiders.
Yeah, that's an easy one.